Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is Listening Beyond the Soundbites. Today, we are not in the studio, as you can tell. We are here in Waterbury in the offices of the Vermont Assistive Technology Program. Wait till you see where we are. It's very exciting. I want to introduce our guest, Graham Douillet, who's the program director. Graham, how are you? Good. And Benjamin Wimet.
Hi.
How are you? He is the Assistant Technology Access Specialist. That's a long title.
You got it.
And you are from Rutland.
Yeah, I cover the Rutland area, so Rutland South
Okay.
is my territory.
Great, thank you. And on my left is Tracy Rue, who is also the Assistant Technology Access Specialist here in Waterbury.
Yes.
Great. Well, we usually start out by asking folks a little bit about themselves, and I'll start with Graham. A little bit about your background and maybe why you're here in this amazing place.
Yeah, my background's in public administration, human services. I've been in Vermont much of my life, and this opportunity came up to help people with disabilities, specifically Vermonters, and it was a no-brainer for me because Tracy and Ben and the other staff involved, Leslie Merlovich and Beth and Rollins, they do great work. And it's really exciting to be able to assist people in really meaningful ways.
That's great. And just so you know, we are here on the ground floor of sort of the new state office complex here after the flood. This building is amazing. It's really lovely.
Really
a little bit of a
transformed.
difference between the old days when people would have to stick their feet in cold water in the summertime because there's no air conditioning. I know this for a fact.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was so unbearably hot that they would put buckets of water on the floor with their feet in it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the
Seriously.
AT tryout center was in the basement, so we were not hot down there.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's good. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ben, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ben. Like I said, I work out of the office in Rutland, which is located in the Vogue Rehab office in downtown Rutland. That's where my office is similar to this. It doesn't look as pretty and as fancy as in a 100-year-old building, but I basically have the same stuff. And how I got into assistive technology and into this job, it was kind of full circle for me. I started out as a consumer when I was about 8 years old.
Nice.
My predecessor showed me something called Write Out Loud, which was or Read Out Loud, which was a program that I would type something and it would read it back to me so I could tell if I spelled it right. And that was in like 92, 93.
Nice.
So I've been around a while, and then fast forward until I was 17, 18, I had an internship with them through the Department of Labor for the summer.
Yay.
Decided I wanted to go off to college and work with people because of it. Fast forward to 4.5 years ago, a job came open, and here I am.
Here you are. Now, were you able to use some of that equipment in school?
Oh, yeah.
Did you take it with you to school?
I've used assistive technology my entire life.
Oh, really?
From my wheelchair to voice-activated technology. So I can't type for beans. If I had to type a report for somebody, it would take me years. I use my voice to type. And now my reports are really long, and people wish they were shorter. But,
Doing it yourself, that's funny. That's That's cool. I have one on my computer. There's some button on it that keeps voicing back to me what I type, and I cannot stop it. I brought it to 2 different places, and I don't know what's wrong with it. It just keeps...
We might be able to help you with
Oh,
that.
really? I'm coming here tomorrow. Save a place. So anyway, Tracy, could you talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I went to college for mechanical engineering and biomedical engineering.
Oh.
And after college, an internship opened up with this program. It wasn't this position that I work in now. It was actually for our reuse program. So I was doing some database work for the program. And I went and worked at a winery for 4 years.
All right, Tracy.
But then a job opened up
Yeah.
as an AT specialist, and
Great.
so I took the position because I was interested.
And how long have you been here?
I've been here for 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Great. Well, I keep not looking at you guys because I keep looking around the room at all the cool stuff you have. So, could you explain what is how do you say that? VATP? What is it? What is
the Vermont Assistive Technology Program is housed here in the state of Vermont. Every state, every territory gets federal funding to run an assistive technology program.
Right.
And here in Vermont, it's within the state of Vermont. specifically within the Department of Disabilities, Aging and
okay.
Independent Living.
And that's
under-
Diane Dalmas, right?
Well, under
does-
VR,
Oh,
under
okay.
Voc
Oh, right.
Rehab, which Diane runs.
Right.
And it's been longest serving director in the country, actually.
I know, I heard that the other day. I actually heard her name, and I was like, wow, she's still here. God bless her. That's a good thing.
Well, we're grateful she
Yeah,
is.
she
And
knows her stuff.
So what we do for the program is we have 3 tryout centers. So as Ben mentioned earlier, he runs the Rutland site. Tracy runs the site here at the Waterbury State Office Complex. And then we have another site at UVM at the Trinity
Right.
campus.
Because you have a good relationship with UVM. It's you work very
Exactly.
closely with them, don't you? Could you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit, how that
Yeah,
works?
so we contract out with UVM to provide these services through these tryout centers. So
Mm-hmm.
they operate the tryout centers, they staff the tryout centers, and what it enables us to do is provide free services to anyone who
Hmm.
might be looking for some assistance with their goals, might be working with some challenges in their office or at work or at home in their community, perhaps wanting to do more to engage on a recreational level. And so people come to our tryout centers, one of the 3,
Right.
and we'll provide information and assistance. We'll sit down, we'll talk with folks, understand a little bit about what they're wanting to do. And part of what we do is you mentioned these wonderful technologies
right.
and devices. We have over 2,000 of them around the state in
Wow.
our inventory. And we'll sit down, we'll match devices and strategies to help people, and they can bring these devices to their environment for free for 30 days. So
Wow.
it's a buy before you try kind of approach.
Right, great.
And so that's something we're really proud of, because some of these devices, and they fall on the spectrum of something that might be very no tech to something that's very high tech, and we'll demonstrate some of that, some examples in a little bit. But some of that stuff can be kind of expensive. So
Yeah.
we don't sell equipment. What we'll do is we'll help people after they try devices for 30 days. They come back and they say, boy, I really like this. This worked out great. We'll help them identify vendors where they can buy equipment. And if they needed some assistance in terms of purchasing it,
Right.
because of funding considerations, we partner with the Vermont Center for Independent Living, the Sue
Oh,
Williams
they
Freedom
are the
Fund.
best.
Yeah.
That's a great group.
Yeah, and the equipment distribution
Right.
program, Opportunities Credit Union has a really nice low interest
Nice.
independence fund to help people with disabilities to take on or purchase assistive technology and durable medical.
And the overriding, I wrote this down, the VTS Federal Act program is the overarching program for all of these sites, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
great.
The other services that we provide, and again, this is all free, so there's no paperwork that people need to fill out. We'll put our 800 number on the screen and our website on the screen so people can access us, but all they have to do is call, or they can access us through our website. We also provide free presentations to talk about assistive technology and our services.
So I was going to just ask how you guys get the word out, because I must admit, I'm not sure who told me, but first time I heard about it. So obviously I'm not in the disability world sort of with resources that would probably tell me. But how do you get the word out so people know they can just come in and say, I'm having trouble with X, Y, Z?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
That is something that we're working on.
Yeah.
But we go to conferences around the state.
Yeah.
We give presentations. I've been to a number of support groups for traumatic brain injury. I presented yesterday even for VABER, which is an organization that works with vocational rehabilitation. They provide job services, job coaches, things of that nature. And then we also work around training rehab professionals around the state so that they can build their personal professional development around assistive technology that's available for clients that they work with.
Right.
We do have limitations being only 3 AT specialists for the whole state.
Wow.
So that's part of our public awareness problem maybe, but
Because I would think you would, Ben, you probably reach out to employers too, right? Because you could really be a big help to them.
They come to us a lot of times through Voc Rehab. They'll come to us. But the biggest, most powerful tool I think that we have that gets overlooked sometimes is word of mouth.
Yeah.
So people, I'll work with a consumer, Tracy will work with a consumer, our counterpart Leslie in Burlington will work with a consumer, and they'll go out and tell people, geez, you gotta go see Tracy in Waterbury, or you gotta go see Ben, because they can really help you with that. you can't open it. You can't open your pills. Go see Ben. He's got this little thing that'll open it for you, and it's word of mouth from our consumers is probably where we get the most energy. The people that are the most excited to come see
Well,
us.
they're all linked into the community,
Yeah,
right?
and they're
So
the best advertising for us because they're they've been through it too, and their energy level is just like boom.
That's great.
And we can share some examples of folks that we've worked with and how assistive technology has really helped them out. But I mean, let's say you have someone that comes in and says, I'm not able to use my arm as I once have been able to, and I really want to reach some of those higher items in my home, like on the kitchen shelf up high. We might send them home or demonstrate like a reacher grabber.
Right,
And
right.
then if they like it, we might send it home with them. They can try it out for 30 days, see how it works. And so that's really exciting because oftentimes people come back and say, it really works,
That's
and it
great.
can be life-changing. And that's an example of a very low-tech approach, and cost is pretty reasonable, but it can have a great impact.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Tracy, you told me you don't, and what the word is, invent things here. You actually do the research and find something that can be used or modified maybe, or something to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we are looking at devices that are commercially available already.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find items that have the features that would fit an individual's needs. So we engage in conversations with individuals to find out where their functional limitations are and why they aren't able to reach the specific goal that they're interested in.
Right.
And that could be as simple as calling my granddaughter on the phone and being able to hear them, right?
Right.
Goals can vary widely. And so what we do is we take that information, those narratives, those stories, and we turn it into concrete information, and we compare that to devices that are available commercially. And sometimes we will modify those. So an example might be we have a phone that has large buttons with pictures in them. And it's used for someone maybe that has a memory impairment. Right? So I can put a picture of my granddaughter here, and that becomes a one-touch dial. Okay?
Right.
But now we're talking about an individual that has a vision impairment, and they can't see the photo on that button. How would they identify that that's the person they want to call? We might take some Velcro and stick the soft part of the Velcro on that button. Now this person with the visual impairment can feel the button instead of having to see the button, and you can still use the functionality of that phone. So that would be an example of a commercially available item that maybe we modify in
Right,
some
right.
way for a specific person's needs.
Do you share these ideas with the rest of the adaptive technology folks in the United States through the feds? Do you share? Because when I was in motor vehicles, I had this thing called reinventing the wheel. Like, just somebody had an idea and they put it in this book, which the National Association puts together, and just turn the pages and strike out a state's name and put Vermont, and we're good to go.
We are connected to groups and listservs and organizations to share information. That's so important because, as you can imagine, the technology is always changing, expanding, and staying on top of it is, it takes a good amount of time. And I think sharing those resources make us all stronger. And
for sure.
It's really nice to be able to reach out to someone and say, geez, I'm working with this kind of complicated case, and I'm scratching my head here, and do you have a suggestion? Or I've tried this device in the past, it's worked great, but I'm running into a hiccup.
Yeah.
What kind of suggestions do you have? And so those resources are really valuable.
Good.
And one thing we do internally is we all get together one day a month and have a professional development day with each other. So we bring in what we got that's new that month that maybe we are having a hard time figuring out, or we think this is going to be a good use for something, but we're not really sure. So we kind of have a meeting of the minds that all get together and troubleshoot cases or troubleshoot specific devices. We also do we have the opportunity to go to some national conferences and some regional conferences throughout the year to kind of connect to other folks that are in the same realm of what we do and kind of throw out concerns and questions that we have. And
That's great. I was just thinking about what fun it must be to go to your conferences, especially when you walk through the airport and try to get through security with all the with all the funky stuff.
Man, the exhibit halls is like
I can
the
imagine.
chocolate factory.
Yeah.
If you're going to the chocolate factory or something. It's
Exactly.
It can be a little
amazing.
overwhelming.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So how many people do you whether you want to count employees and employers, but how many people do you service on average every year?
Well, in terms of demonstrations,
Right.
It could be up around 700
Oh,
actual
great.
demonstrations that we might do. And for actual loans, it's about the same, might be a little bit higher. So that definitely has an impact in
That's
terms of
great.
our outreach when we do public awareness, and we do that through a
Right.
wide variety of means. And as Tracy mentioned, we do go out, we do presentations.
Yeah,
That's hundreds easily. And,
yeah,
and that's just one way that we try to promote our services.
Right.
One of the other services that we offer is the AT exchange, and it's kind of like a Craigslist for used assistive technology and durable
Oh.
medical equipment. And again, if people access our website, they can go to the AT exchange link, click on it, and we don't get involved with the specific devices. We host the site, we manage the
Oh,
site.
nice.
So if someone has something that they want to, that's gently used, that they
Yeah.
want to get rid of, either give away for free or sell, or if someone's looking for something to take on, that's a resource that we offer as well.
That's great. There's a guy in around the Barry area that has a garage full of stuff, and you can just go up and take it.
Is that Clayton?
And- huh?
Is that Clayton?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And we took advantage of his kind offers when my mom was sick. So we've returned them. But yeah, that's great.
There's another couple in Montpelier that does the same thing.
Because these things are not cheap.
They are not.
These things,
No.
No. No, and it has to be fit for you, right? I mean,
Oh, this chair?
yeah, it doesn't. I mean, you can't just walk in and take one and off you go.
Chair, yeah, especially with, that's actually a good point with some of the equipment that we put on our website that gets put on the exchange. We have a little disclaimer that says that if it's medical equipment, we strongly recommend that you would go to somebody and have them fit it to you. Right. Because if you're in an ill-fitting wheelchair or an ill-fitting walker, it can actually hurt you and not help you.
Yeah, I would think so. The back would be the first
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you talked about training. What's the training part about? Training for these folks to use it, but also you said training people out in the field about what you offer here.
Right. So we don't do training for individuals.
Okay.
Unless it's a specific situation, such as if they're a Voc Rehab client. If they're a Voc Rehab client, we can actually provide them training around a device that we've suggested. But otherwise, for our general public services, we provide trainings to groups. So a good example would be a school wants to learn about assistive technology for their special education department, and they'd like to look at tools that would allow software to read out loud to their students. Maybe they have a bunch of folks that have dyslexia, and they're really struggling to support those students. We could go in and maybe show them built-in tools in their Chromebooks that they already have at the
great.
school. And so it's really specific to a kind of technology or a group of technologies.
Excellent.
That's how it differs from our general presentations that we give for public awareness. So our free presentations would include an overview of our program, how to access us, and then some general examples of assistive technology. Not in-depth training on how to turn it on and use it.
Right,
But our fee for service training,
easy
that's
for
a
you to
mouthful,
say.
would include really specific examples of how to use that specific technology.
Okay, cool. I just met with the Secretary of Education the other day, and one of his passions is technology. So I don't know if you've had a chance to tell him about what's here, because I'm sure schools could use this a lot.
Yes.
For those.
That could grow really big really quickly.
Yeah, I would think so. That's great, because I'm sure they've got their hands full with some of the kids that have special needs. It's great.
The other thing that we do, and is so important to reach as many Vermonters as we can, and we do our best to get the word out. And so our community partners are really key. So, for example, the Council on Aging folks, case managers that work with older Vermonters, we've done trainings with them to help them understand about our program, help them understand about equipment. And so when they're out in the field and they're working with their constituents, they can help make that link. So if
That's
someone's having a hearing impairment or a visual impairment, we have devices that we've trained them on. Say, oh, I may have something for
Right,
you. Let's give this a
right.
try.
That's good. You mentioned traumatic brain injury,
Yes.
or brain injury. I was told that traumatic is just a part
A
of it.
specific
Yeah, I did a
event.
show on this not too long ago.
Oh, great.
So, what kind of things I'm doing? I'm also asking this on a personal level because I know somebody who struggles with that. And what kind of things would you have available for somebody who's got that challenge?
Yeah, so actually yesterday we had a Tech Tuesday, which is an open lab that we do monthly, and our theme was brain injury.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it's Brain Injury Awareness Month actually.
Oh,
March.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's cool. And we showed a bunch of different devices for different areas. So memory is often a challenge for
Right,
someone that has a brain
right.
injury. So different kinds of apps to help with task sequencing or facial recognition. So we have a talking photo album, for example.
Oh, cool.
Where you can program in what, like the message that goes with each photo.
Right.
So you could use that to put in a photo of someone that you want to remember,
Right.
and maybe a message about that person.
Oh,
And so you could
nice.
review that as many times as you needed to help
Right.
you remember it, to store it in that longer term memory.
Great.
We also showed folks the Amazon Echo products, which are voice-activated Bluetooth speakers that are interconnected with your calendar or timers or
Oh,
reminders.
so it reminds you. Great.
Yeah, so part of a memory challenge might be I have a thought, and that thought might not stay very long. And so there's an urgency about needing to get that thought down somewhere and recorded so that I can review it when I have
Right,
more
time,
energy
right.
or time to deal with it. So a voice-activated product makes that process really short and easy. So remind me to go to the grocery store at 4 p.m., right? And you can interconnect devices with their smartphone, for example. So I say that to my Bluetooth speaker when I'm at home in the kitchen and realizing I don't have any eggs,
Right.
for breakfast tomorrow. And when I'm coming home from work at 4 p.m., all of a sudden I get a little reminder on my
excellent.
phone. Oh, yeah, I need to go to the grocery store.
Excellent.
So
I
it's-
could use that.
Everybody could use that.
Exactly. My husband says I've got too much stuff in my head. It's hard to sort. That's his excuse for my failing in some areas here, wouldn't it?
Well, that's also a
but
common
that's a
thing
great-
for someone that has a brain injury.
Yeah,
There's too much
that's-
stuff and no way to
yeah.
organize it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So where did you all learn all this stuff? I mean, is there a course that you take, or is it OJT, or just on-the-job training?
I mean, with me, it started as real life training.
Well, I was going to say, you've been in it for a while, right?
I've been in it since I took my first breath, basically. So, with me, it was, personal experience. And then when I did my internship when I was a teenager, I really liked working with the human side of things. I didn't like the computer side of things, but they didn't do what I wanted, and I couldn't just talk to them and figure out what the problem was. But I really understood, okay, humans can talk to me. They can tell me what's wrong. I may have to dig down deep. So when I had done the internship, I wasn't going to go to college, but I was like, I need to go to college and hone these skills. So I went and I got a social work and sociology degree type thing, and kind of honed those skills. And I've been in the human services
Great.
field ever since, and I've stayed up on technology and all that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of, real life, on the job, just necessity type thing for me, but I think it's different for all of us.
Yeah, well, you've lived it.
He may not have liked computers at one point, but he's a whiz with them now.
Are you really? Good for you.
Yeah, and except for when I really need to show things on the spot. And then they
Oh,
don't
it
work.
always fails you.
It always fails you.
I can tell you that. So, Graham, what?
Well, definitely on-the-job training. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm learning something from these two and the other folks on the team all the time. I mean, it's just, and it's really exciting because we can see the impact, we can see the
Right.
potential. And that said, years ago, I was on the physical therapy track, and I worked just out of high school in a physical therapy clinic.
Oh, nice.
And so I have some exposure to rehab background, and I've always tended to gravitate to that and human
great.
services. And but Ben mentioned the professional development meetings that we have.
Yeah.
I like to sit in on consults whenever I can, and there's always something more to learn.
That's great. Very good. Is there anything else we should talk about before we take our little walking tour? Anything else you wanted to mention about what a great job you all do here. This is great. It's what's really great is the access. You just come
Right in
right
the
up and
front.
right in. You don't have to take elevators or worry about stairs or anything. You can just come in.
Well, and we try to make this service as accessible as we can and available as possible. And so it's a one number that people call, and Emma Cobb, our services coordinator, fields that number. And so you don't have to worry about where you live to figure out which tryout center to go to. We'll take care of that. And so the 800 number on the screen, that's all that people have to do to give us a call
Excellent.
and use the website.
Well, we'll be sure to put that on the screen so they can see where to call. That's great.
You two have had so many cases that you've worked with that have resulted in some pretty great successes. Do you have
Can you
anything
share
wanna
any without giving away any confidentiality?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. You know, what's his name?
Actually, one of my first clients that I ever worked with was probably the most impactful on me. He was an individual that had been in a nursing home for over 2 years, and the only thing keeping him from living a much more independent, free life in a home, in an apartment like anybody else would want to, was being able to answer his phone.
Oh.
Well, I was only about a week into my job, and the director at the time said, "Here, man, here's this client for you, figure it out."
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. So I figured out a way to, long story short, I figured out a way to have him use his head, because he could use his head and he could use one shoulder a little bit. So he took his head and pushed a switch on the back of his headrest that would activate Siri, so he could call
nice.
somebody with his voice. And then it evolved, but by the time I stopped working with him, he could actually open his door with his phone. He had a door opener, and it took me a year and a half to get the door opener place to talk to me. And I got everything working. It took us a year and a half, but basically he can do a lot more with his wheelchair and just his voice than he ever thought possible.
That's
and he
great.
was much more independent than he ever thought he
What
could
a
be. which was
wonderful
awesome.
gift for him.
Yeah.
And he was able to
That's
move
great.
out of the nursing home.
Independence
Yeah.
is so, I mean, my God, it's all about independence, isn't it?
Dignity.
Yeah, dignity and respect, and good for you.
Yep.
Do you ever hear from him? You
I
see
do
him?
occasionally. He's
Yeah.
doing well.
Yeah, good.
He's
Wow.
doing well.
That would make you love your
You
job.
can't slow him down. If I see him, it might be, "Hey, how you doing? All right, I gotta go. Bye." He's very independent,
Oh,
very
that's
active
great.
now. So.
Well, good for him. You have a
Yeah.
little story?
Well, I had a client the other day that came in, and she has essential tremor, which is not caused by Parkinson's or anything like that, but it's affected her over the last 25 years, and it's slowly getting worse. And she used to make pottery,
Oh,
and she's not able to use her wheel anymore.
right.
And it's really sad for her. That's a form of her expression. So she came in. She wasn't really sure if there was going to be anything that she could try out
Right.
and use. But she ended up taking home a hand weight that went on the top of her hand. It's like a little glove almost.
Yeah.
And it weighs a half a pound. And by adding that weight to her hand, it calmed down how much her hands were shaking. So she's going to try it out with some
Great.
like daily activities, and then if it works, we're going to try and make a waterproof version of the glove.
Oh, for the
so
wheel.
that she
Yes.
can use the wheel. Because right now it's nylon, and that would get caked up
Yeah,
really
right.
quickly. But she's really excited, and she's like, I have to give you a hug.
Oh,
This
cute.
is life changing.
Oh,
She's in her
that's great.
70s, and it just could. If she was able to do pottery again,
Yeah, that'd
she
make
would
it
be
for
very
her.
happy.
Oh dear, you guys are going to get me crying.
We see people of all ages, all backgrounds, and
Yeah.
again, it's a free service, and we're really
That's
proud
great.
to offer it.
That's great. Well, why don't you guys figure out who's going to show us around, and maybe we just start at one end and go around,
Sure.
and
Sounds great.
let's talk about all these things.
Yeah. So this is a fun little device that we actually use in a game called Guess That AT when we do a public awareness event. Because it's kind of obscure looking, it has a battery sticking out of it and some sharp prongs.
Looks like it's gonna electrocute
It
you.
looks like it's going to electrocute you. Do you have any guesses about what this might be, Pat?
Oh, I have no idea.
So it's got 3 prongs on the back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
and
Ben. And it makes noise.
Every time it goes off.
I don't know. Is it a heat thing?
It's not heat,
No.
but it is a sensor.
Sensor.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea.
Okay, well this is actually
It beeps, that's what we
it
know.
does. It beeps.
does.
So there's a sound buzzer in here. So what you do is you hang this on the side of a mug.
Oh.
Okay. And those 3 prongs face into the inside of the mug.
So you know when it's...
When it's getting full.
Oh, I love it.
So you pour in water. So if you had a visual impairment, or if you
Right.
had maybe slow reaction time and you wanted something to warn you,
Excellent.
you can pour in the water, and it is going to beep. So
I'll jump in.
everybody be
It'll
warned.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Lemon down. So once the water reaches those 2 prongs at the bottom, then it emits a sound. And the 3rd prong is, let's say this was a mug of coffee.
Yeah,
And so you want to add cream to your coffee too.
right.
So you stop pouring coffee once the first beep happens, and then you stop pouring your creamer
I
when the
love it.
second.
I do this. I have a dark mug, and when I pour coffee in the morning without putting the light on,
Can't tell.
it's all over the place. I have to get one of these.
Exactly. And they're super cheap. You can get this for like $8.
Really?
Yeah.
Like where? Like a Walmart? Or
We
wherever?
got this on Amazon.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Amazon.
You just have to know the terminology.
Right.
Liquid level indicator. But yeah, this
There
is
you go.
popular in the low vision community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Excellent.
And then Ben, do you want to talk about this?
So, this is a time timer, and what we use this for is if somebody is trying to cook something or needs to know how much time is left in something, they may have a hard time processing how much, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes really is, but that gives them a visual indication
That's
of how
great.
long is left. And they come in all different shapes, all different sizes.
Nice.
A lot of times people are anxious with how much time is left, how much time is left. That
Right.
gives them the visual indication without having to ask.
They don't just wait for the smoke, which is what I do, right?
Well, we also
Smoke in the
have,
kitchen.
we also have a
This is
device
great.
here that's really hard to demonstrate, but we also actually have devices for people that are worried about leaving burners on.
Oh,
the stove
really?
that after a predetermined amount of time,
That's
the alarm will go
perfect.
off and remind you to shut off the stove.
Yeah. So
Seriously, I've heard a lot of stories about people with their family, parents living with them, and that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that, especially with the burners that are, if it's electric, it turns dark, so you don't really know it's on. The propane's something
you
else.
can
but
touch
yeah.
it. Yeah. So this is called a burner alert, and it's simply a disc. So you pull the knob off your stove, you place this disc underneath the knob, and whenever the knob is on, this device is blinking and it beeps every few minutes.
Excellent.
So that if you've walked away from the stove, you have an indication that you left it on. So that's a good memory tool.
That's great.
And then they also have more expensive, more advanced technology that actually is installed directly into the stove that can shut off the propane after a certain amount of time, or the electricity, depending on what it is,
Right.
which is great for folks that live by themselves but maybe are in the early stages of dementia or
Yeah,
Alzheimer's.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
And you can buy that over the counter somewhere?
Yep.
Good old Amazon?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
Amazon.
honestly buy many things from specialized catalogs anymore.
Oh,
Which is great and overwhelming at the same time, because 25, 30 years ago, if you had a disability, there was literally like 4 things to choose from.
oh,
It's being built into every commercial product now, which is great.
That's
So we have a lot more choices, but it makes staffing or choosing inventory a lot more difficult. 'cause
but
I'm
something's working.
This is so
and people
cool.
are really making equipment. I mean, There's a
Exactly.
market for it, so
Exactly.
good for them. Right.
And then maybe the last thing we'll show at the kitchen table are these low vision measuring cups. So it might be hard to see there.
Oh, I see. Cool.
But the base has bright colors,
Right.
and then the letters are extra large, and it doesn't rub off like the traditional ones, the plastic
right.
ones. So
That's
that
great.
large font can be helpful for folks. And these come in different colors. So if green doesn't work for your vision
Right.
disability, you can choose orange or red, whatever.
Excellent.
And we got the set of these and the teaspoons for $5.
Nice.
Yeah. So it can
And
be.
they come like that, or you
It
guys
comes
make
like
Oh,
this.
it does.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it wasn't, again, designed for someone that had low vision. It was just available, and it happens to fit that need.
For sure. That's great. Well, I just have to ask you, what's the slice? Is that a slicer thing? I have to see that. That's cool.
So this is like every infomercial ever.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Slapchat.
The handy dandy.
So the cover snaps on here, and you open it up, and these are sharp. You stick your onion or your
Yeah, that's right.
tomato,
Right.
and then you close it,
And that's it.
and then it all populates in this jar at the bottom, and then you can pour it out.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's good for someone that can't use a traditional knife because of dexterity or
Me,
or Ben.
That's great. So why did this lemon fall off the table? Just because?
I bumped it probably. It was on this adapted cutting board that we have here. Let me move my water bottle. So this is a Swedish cutting board.
Oh, nice.
So a few features of this cutting board. It's a little bit different. The first feature is that it has suction cups on the bottom
To hold it?
in place. The second feature is that it has these pins.
Excellent.
And those can go down or they can be facing up. And what that allows you to do is stick a piece of produce
Right on
onto
it.
the knife so it doesn't roll around. An apple, a tomato, your
right.
cucumber, whatever. Doesn't work well with plastic lemons, but
Oh, well, that's cool.
we tried. And then the other piece is this this little lever. So this slides back and forth, and it has removable pins, so you can adjust. But what it allows you to do is stick maybe a cucumber in there, but a lot of people use it for jars. So I got my jar of almond butter here. I'm gonna move the platform. So imagine if you could only use one arm. Maybe you had a stroke or there's paralysis that's happening.
Yep, so it holds it.
So then you lower the lever and it squeezes the little jar in here. So now it's stationary. Now it's not moving around. I don't need to secure it with
Yeah.
my other arm. So now I simply just have to twist the jar
Excellent.
top off.
I always ask my husband, open this for me.
Please.
That's great.
Yeah, and if you still can't open it, even with it secure, maybe you might use something
Right.
like this Dyson jar opener, which just gives you some extra
Yeah,
stick.
right. Excellent. What fun. You cook, Ben?
I don't. An occupational therapist came to my house when I moved into my apartment. Said, "You're not cooking. Don't,
No
don't
cooking
do
for
it.
you.
Don't do it." So I can make anything out of the microwave or the toaster oven.
Oh, there you go. Well, I use the microwave a lot too.
The
That's
toaster
great.
oven is probably a little bit against the rules, but I do it anyway.
Well, you've got some great restaurants in Rutland to order too. That'd be
Yeah.
mine. Reservations. That's it. All right. So what's next?
We want to take a look at the dining stuff.
So this cup here, or mug, is one of my favorite tools, and we recommend this a lot, and people are fascinated by this. You know, it's got a funky looking straw
Yes, it
on
does.
but it's got a regular mug. What do you think the straw does? And the straw moves, but once you move it, stays where I put it.
Oh, that's great.
So, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a. Oh, it would help if I back up a little bit. Could I actually have the same cup holder on my chair? And I stick it in there, like that.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
And the straw is not quite long enough. Well, maybe it is.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, so if I had limited mobility, I
Done.
can
That's great.
reach the straw. Another cool feature of this is if you have a hard time swallowing or you're sucking and you can't swallow fast enough, so you might
Aspirate.
aspirate, there's the word.
Yeah.
So this has a valve on it to really prevent you from taking in
Oh, too
too much water.
Interesting.
And once the other nice feature it has is that once you've sucked it through the straw, it kind of stays there. So if that actual act of sucking it up through the straw takes a lot of energy, you won't have to do it again.
So if you have a
I'm
straw,
not sure I understood that. But
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's 3 feet long
Yeah.
and you had to bring the liquid up from the cup
Takes
every
a lot
time,
of sucking. Right.
so you only have to do it once.
Yeah, have you?
Oh, and then
there-
it just keeps coming.
Yep.
Oh, I love this thing.
There's a valve in the bottom of the straw that
Yeah.
prevents the liquid from going back down.
Oh, that's great.
So once it's here, it stays there. So you don't have to
Oh,
do
that's
that
certainly
every
because
time.
I'm sure a lot of people have trouble just getting those deep breaths like that.
Exactly.
Interesting. See, I want something if for coffee so you could lay in bed and drink it.
You could.
This would be
You could with
great,
that.
and I wouldn't have to get out of bed. What a deal. That's great.
And some people melt these holders to their bed rails if they've got bed rails, and that's what they use it
Sure,
for.
excellent.
Yeah.
I need to start doing that because I can't tell you how often in the middle of the night I've spilled a bottle of water all over my
Oh, yeah, you
and my
need this.
caregivers come in and they're like, "You got in a fight with your water bottle again, did you?" Yes.
It's not good if you're head of this technology thing here, Ben. You have to be an example.
I said I knew how to use it. I didn't say I was the best example.
It
That's
is
funny.
funny how
Yeah.
little we use it ourselves.
Well,
we
exactly.
need I need Ben to come up here and give me an AT review.
Or like,
But we're always the worst, aren't we? The worst
You know,
shoemaker with a hole in his shoe.
Yeah,
I'm always telling Tracy, why don't you use this for that? Or Tracy will look at my wheelchair and go, "Ben, this is out of alignment." I didn't know.
what are friends for?
Exactly. Okay, what else is?
So this is called the gyro bowl, and parents know about these because you can put Cheerios in here, and you can't spill the Cheerios.
Oh.
This is like the best thing
Look
for
at
the back
this.
of the car.
That is so cool. Can you see that really close? This is amazing. I love it.
And so if someone had tremors,
Yeah,
the bowl, the outside
Ah.
moves but not the inside.
nice.
Also, if you had limited dexterity, you could pick it up without
Right.
needing both
right.
hands. So securing it for distance walking is easier.
Excellent.
Yeah, so no spill. Although I challenged someone to spill the beans, and they of course figure out a way. But if you're using it with good
That's just
intentions,
great.
so that's the gyro bowl.
Amazing people think of this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely a mom invention.
Yeah, right. I bet. Cool. What about that glass over there? That looks pretty cool. Wonder what all that is.
You want to talk about this, Ben?
Yeah. So all this is again, if you have limited movement and you need to use a straw,
Oh, it keeps it.
yeah, exactly, you got it.
Got it.
So if it accidentally gets bumped, it keeps it
Right.
there.
'Cause
Excellent.
without it, the straw can go wherever it wants, right?
Excellent.
But with it, it keeps it in place.
Nice.
And then this straw is special. It has this little plastic bead in there.
Uh-huh.
And you can see that the inside is smaller than the outside.
Yeah.
And just like with the Flexi Mug, this prevents aspiration because it reduces the amount of flow that is allowed
Oh,
for
and
someone.
that's sort of like self-choking, sort of. That's
It's when you inhale liquid into your lungs
Oh,
because you're
that's
trying to
not good.
swallow and breathe at the same time.
That could cause a little trouble.
Yep. And then the last part about this is called the nosy cup. So this is cut out,
Yeah.
and so it helps for someone that can't tip their head back when they're drinking.
Oh,
So I can put my nose in this hole here.
oh, excellent.
So my head can stay level, but the cup can move.
God, who thinks of this stuff? This is great.
And then this is weighted silverware. So if you feel that, it's almost a
Whoa.
quarter of a pound.
Don't drop that on your foot.
Yeah.
Really. Self-defense mechanism here.
Yeah.
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 What I love about these is that it looks really regular.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like silverware. But the weight allows someone that has a tremor to stabilize a little bit better.
Oh,
So at home, you could just be using this silverware instead of the really
Nice.
light silverware,
Yeah.
and it can prevent or slow down how fast your hand's moving
that's great.
so that you can actually get the food to your mouth.
Excellent.
And
Do you help a lot of people with Parkinson's? Do a lot of
yeah,
people come in?
and our next Tech Tuesday is April 9th.
Yeah.
And that lab is going to focus on Parkinson's.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we see a lot of folks with
Right.
tremors, maybe not necessarily caused by Parkinson's, but also Parkinson's.
I think Parkinson's, and you can correct me, I think it's very common in Vermont, more so than other states.
Yeah, I'm not sure the
Percentage-wise.
statistics, but
I know for women it's breast cancer, and for men it's Parkinson's.
Mm.
I've been told, but
yeah.
so there's another whole avenue for
Yeah.
use.
Well, and so you were asking about how we learn about assistive technology.
Mm-hmm.
I learn a lot from my clients, honestly. So I had a gentleman that had Parkinson's, avid golfer, loves golfing. So he could no longer put the ball on the tee because his hands were shaking so much.
Right.
He kept knocking the golf ball off, right? So he found, it's called a margarita tee. And it has a wider top and it's a little bit deeper.
Right?
And so
like
you can put
like a margarita glass.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So he brought me one actually.
There you go.
He's like, you have to show people this.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so
Very
expanding
nice.
knowledge that way.
Okay, so we'll cross over and see the other side of the room.
So when Ben was talking about his client that needed to answer the phone using a button, that is a switch. And there's lots of examples of switches. And basically a switch enables someone to access on-off without using the original switch, right? So on a lot of toys, for example, like this little dinosaur here. If a child wanted to turn the dinosaur on, they would need to be able to flip the dinosaur over and get at this little tiny button here. If I don't have the dexterity to do that, I can't play with the dinosaur, which is a bummer. So what we did is we added a proximity switch, it's called. And this happens to be a wireless one, so it has 2 pieces. So what I did is I made a little Velcro backpack for the dinosaur. He needs a shorter wire, so he also has a tail accessory. But that's the receiver. And this is the transmitter. This is the button.
Right.
So now instead of switching that little thing behind his tail, all you have to do is put your hand above this switch.
Oh, I love it. Look at that.
And the dinosaur moves.
What fun.
So this enables a child that can't do that now
Right.
to access it with a really simple motion. And you can imagine that you didn't even have to touch the box.
No, we didn't. Just
right?
went over it.
So you could use that at any part of the body.
Excellent.
You could use that with your head.
Yeah.
You could use it with your foot, your knee. That's what's
Nice.
great about switch access, is that you can really customize it for the person. So this is just one example of a switch
Nice.
that I really like. Because if it was a wired switch,
Yeah,
Tony
you-
the T-Rex would be
right.
on a leash,
Right.
and that's less fun.
They can't be on leashes. They're free ranging. Free range.
A good example, another good example of how somebody used a switch was Stephen Hawking, where he would
Oh, God.
type with his communication device. He actually had a little tiny switch, and I believe it was an area like above his knee or something that he could flex, and he would just flex his knee, and that's how he would hit the switch.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing man.
yeah.
Really cool.
So, Alexa.
Yeah, next we'll talk
Oh,
about
I'm sorry,
her.
I didn't mean to
Stop
wake her up.
listening. Alexa, stop.
This is the Amazon Alexa. This one in particular is called the Echo Show. It just means it has a screen on it. There's a couple different variants of it. It can do a lot of things for folks. I have one in my house. It helps me automate basically my whole home is, I can run through the Amazon Echo. I can turn my TV on through it. I can play music through it. I can turn lights on through it.
Nice.
It's great when I'm, coming into the apartment with a handful of mail, and if I hit the light switch, I'm going to drop all the mail. It's just going to happen. So I use my voice to tell it to turn on the living room lights, and all my living room lights come on. Or you can actually, taking it a step further, if you wanted to, you could set it up with your phone so that your phone has a GPS on it. So when I get to a certain location in my hallway to my apartment, I can have it turn the lights on, so they're already there when I
Great.
get in. You can do things like, Alexa, play Counting Crows.
The music you requested is available with Amazon Music Unlimited, which lets you play over 50 million songs.
Oh, well, we don't have
Just one right now. We only have a few minutes.
Voice purchasing. When you're done,
Alexa.
ask me to sign up.
Stop.
So, when you buy one of these things, how do you set it up to get to the TV and the cell phone? Does somebody has to go in and they have to do something? Do you know? Can you do that, or do you have to have somebody
Requested
come
is
in?
available with
Alexa.
Amazon Music Unlimited.
Stop.
We can show people how to set some of them up in our tryout centers, and then it's obviously they've got to set it up in their home because
Yeah.
everybody uses different Wi-Fi passwords, different usernames. But we can show them the basics, or if they're trying to do a specific thing, they can give us a call and say, Ben, I'm trying to get my Echo to do this. And more often than not, we can walk them through
That's great. Yeah.
what to say, how to do it on the app.
Right.
Or we may have to say, let me look that up. Or in my case, let me go home, figure this out, and I'll call you tomorrow.
So for folks that have hearing impairments, there's a great program called Captioned Phones. It's not like it's federally funded, where someone can use a relay system in order to have a conversation transcribed for them. So if I had a hearing impairment and I could no longer really understand the full conversation on the phone and I needed additional context, I could use this service to have everything that you said to me when you called me typed out.
Oh.
And there's kind of two main companies right now that do that. 3, I guess. We have 2 of them. So this is called a CapTel phone. And then this is a caption call phone.
Cool.
And so what happens on the screen, you can see that there's text being typed out
Yeah.
here. That is a transcription of what's being said to you from the other person.
Great.
Okay?
Oh, great.
And so
As they're saying it?
as they're saying
Sort of
it.
like sign language, as somebody's saying it there.
Exactly,
Oh,
it's
cool.
kind of like an interpreter,
Yeah.
except that they're verbatim writing out
Great.
what the other person says. You can, if you have a certified hearing loss, you can actually get this phone for free, and the service is free as well, where they transcribe for you. So that's a really handy
Wonderful.
device, and you can use that at work or at home.
Excellent. So maybe, Graham, we can invite you in and have tell people how to get in touch with you. And
Absolutely. Our 800 number is 1-800-750-6355. We'd certainly encourage people to call anytime, and we'll set you up with a tryout center opportunity to come in and learn about our services. Our website, and hopefully we'll have it on the screen as well, is www.atp.vt.gov.
thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, keep listening beyond the sound bites.